Nestor Gibbs, welcome to the program.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you. Thank you for having me, Russell.
Ness is the founder of The Boxing Voice, the #1 podcast in the boxing industry. The Boxing Voice radio show, podcast, and website bring to you the latest boxing news, hot topics, and interviews of the top stars and prospects in boxing today. You can listen to the show every Thursday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Boxing Voice website or YouTube. To learn more about The Boxing Voice, visit theboxingvoice.com. That's T-H-A, not T-H-E, theboxingvoice.com. Ness, it's a big reason why I wanted to talk with you. It's kind of a generic question, but what made you start The Boxing Voice, and how did it become what it is today?
Well, to be honest with you, I have to credit my family because they really pushed me to do it. But I also have to credit my competitors. There was a void out there, and I decided that it needed to be filled. I felt like the boxing fan didn't have a voice. And even when given the opportunity to voice their opinion, they were quickly either, hung up on, or their opinions were ridiculed, where the Boxing Voice became the exact opposite. We have the slogan of being the voice of the people, because that's what we do. We give the people a voice. We allow them a platform where they can express their views, celebrate when they pick the fight right, and rightly so, eat some crow on Sundays when they got it wrong. And, if they don't get along with some of the views or opinions of myself or one of my many co-hosts, we're always there to, give them the floor to try and convince us otherwise. But it gets a bit aggressive in there. It's definitely a Thunderdome, but yeah, I mean, the origin story basically dates back about 4 years now, and I frequently, regularly called other podcasts and boxing radio shows throughout the internet, and like I said, it was just that void. So once I got the push from my family, I found a couple of good hardcore guys like Boxing Boys Vic and Mario Munguia, and even Joe Habib, and the rest is really history. We quickly became the new hot thing, and featured on different magazines for the amount of downloads. When you search boxing on iTunes, we come up either before or after HBO, which is a corporation. So I think that we've done fairly well. We've been able to turn a hobby into a full-fledged business where numerous people, cover these events all over the world. I mean, the Boxing Voice has been as far as Argentina to see and cover Sergio Martinez versus Martin Murray, and we've traveled to Canada to cover many Pascal fights. Vic has gone to Puerto Rico to cover the Danny Garcia fight, and I've been all over the U.S. to cover multiple fights, along with, many, many others that make up what is the Boxing Voice now. It's funny that when it all started, it was just really myself, and then Vic, and then slowly Mario. And sure enough, we got Beeb to come on board, because what people don't know is that Joe Habib used to be with the radio many, many years ago, and eventually he joined us, and the Boxing Voice, it's just always been the home of the true fight fan. It's been more of that barbershop feel. We've obviously tried to polish it up throughout the years, which is very hard to do when you're dealing with that many different personalities, because we take that many calls. I mean, certain shows could have upwards of hundreds of different callers. I mean, and it's probably the only show that gets that many international callers. We've had callers from South Africa. Oh my God, I remember Mali Bangwe. And obviously the United Kingdom, we get a bunch, but some alumni callers would be like Bao Kang all the way from the United Kingdom, and Mao Alpha from Argentina, and Gabriel from Colombia. I mean, it's just insane, I mean, I have people that listen from Singapore. It's just truly humbling when you think about it, how many different homes we reach, how many different regions, countries. Is just truly a blessing, really. I mean, I like we said off air, I'm definitely living a dream. I was able to, leave my job and do this full time. And, while it's not going to make me rich, I continue to hustle as hard as I did the first day in hopes that, maybe I could be a little more comfortable. But at the end of the day, I'm still, like you said, living a dream. I'm happy. So that's how it got started.
You're getting to go to these big fights for free, right?
Well, I mean, the only thing you get free is the entrance. If for instance, Mayweather Pacquiao, I was there, I still had to pay for a hotel, and if you decide to rent a vehicle, and obviously your flight, all you get as credentialed media is access to the event and pre-fight events, which would be media day, media workout day, and the final press conference, and the weigh-in, and then fight night would be typically on a Saturday or whatever the day is, a fight night. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, boxing is a sport that you cover if you love it. It's not making anyone's wallet any fatter. But I have gone to some extravagant events. There will be stories to give my grandchildren, and a lot of other hardcore fans would probably die to be in my shoes. I mean, Mayweather Pacquiao. I mean, we've waited years for that, and I was there. And Cotto Martinez in Madison Square Garden. There's been plenty. I mean, I was there for the Broner Madonna, which probably now to people doesn't sound as big as it was back then, but it was huge. And him suffering that first loss there, and the way that the fans reacted and threw garbage at, I mean, it was an insane night for me, let alone, I don't know. I mean, there's just plenty of events that I've been that will forever be huge memories. I mean, the Adrian Broner versus Sean Porter fight, not because of the significance of the fight, but because of the level of the access that I was granted. I was basically able to shadow Sean Porter and his entire team and be back there for everything, get to go to the PBC Red Room and, be in his locker room before the fight and give people the ability to see just a different side of a fighter before he gets in that ring, his confidence before that ring, the prayer. Then after that, the celebration, every moment of that, that person celebrating with his family. I mean, his pastor being there. It was just things that, I will forever remember and cherish because I was able to be a part of that. It was just, I'm in those moments and I put myself in those predicaments, if I were that guy, how I would be feeling. And, I feel blessed that I'm able to, be around these guys and experience these things firsthand, these moments, and have the privilege to ask the questions that I get to ask because, I really do consider myself like the crusader for the hardcore fan because I ask the questions that they want. I truly pay attention and, whether I'm going to ruffle some feathers or not, I ask their questions, and they've been loyal to me, so I continue to do what they ask.
You said when you were starting out, you were listening to other boxing podcasts. You must have thought they're not doing something that you could be. So what weren't they doing that the Boxing Voice is? Well,
I mean, now it's kind of being. People are attempting it, but back then it was, basically asking what the fans wanted to know, you know? I mean, why are we allowing promoters to tell us that fights need to marinate? It's not me. We want it right now. When you start marinating fights, things like Gamboa versus Juan Manuel Lopez never happened. When you marinate fights, you get an old version of Sergio Martinez with 2 knee straps on his legs to fight Miguel Cotto, because we're marinating these fights. So no one was asking Bob why. It's just, this is what it was. You know, and then, you know, me and a couple of other strong-minded folks decided that that had to change. And we started putting the pressure on guys like Leonard Ellerby, you know, and making them remember certain things that they might have said. Because, I mean, some of these guys could tell you one thing today and another tomorrow, and no one even, you know, let them know. No one even let them know, like, hey, you're contradicting yourself. Yesterday you said that the color of the ring was going to be blue, and today you're saying it's going to be red. Well, which one is it? And then sometimes that said person might just answer you, well, it's whatever color I want it to be. And the person in the media says, well, okay, because they don't want to lose their access. But, you know, for us, we were already nobody when we started, so there was no access to lose. But the people in charge of the events, they gave us the access because they loved the way that we worked, because it didn't matter if you were Manny Pacquiao or if you were Chris Algieri or if you were Emmanuel Taylor or Raymond Serrano. We were interviewing you the same way. We were giving you the same amount of attention. Whenever we covered an event, we wanted to cover the winner and the loser of the event. So the people in charge of those events, they noticed that. And little by little, the job got easier because they appreciated that we would cover a 3-0 Zachary Ochoa that normally wouldn't get any type of publicity because he's not on the televised fight. He's fighting in the Barclays Center that if you didn't pay to, you know, get into the Barclays Center at minimum $25, well, you don't even know who Zachary Ochoa is. But if the Boxing Voice is interviewing him pre-fight weekend and after his fight, and then you're talking about him on a podcast, well, you just made a kid relevant. I mean, we do it all the time on the show. People had never heard of Arthur Betterby, you know, and now a bunch of people know about him because you have to make these people aware. And that's what other shows weren't doing. They would rather talk about whatever, you know, was popular or whatever was popular for said promoters, because it was all about access. It's still about access, to be honest with you. I mean, it's a very weird business.
I've seen a lot of comments from fans, so I'd like you to address it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'll just read this one comment. Ness is just trying to push PBC. That's his agenda. It's because he wants to work for them. Are you favoring PBC because you want to maintain access with them?
Absolutely not. The thing is, I believe in that model, right? If you think back a couple of years, well, the Steve Kims of the world, the Max Kellermans of the world, the Jim Lantleys of the world, Doug Fisher, these guys were all saying that boxing needed to be either under unified rules, one governing body, you know, or needed to be back on mainstream television, back to its golden era when it was on daytime TV. Numbers indicate when Kathy Duva had an NBC deal a few years ago before the inception of PBC, she had Tyson Fury and Steve Cunningham on NBC on daytime television. They did $3 million. So the idea was out there. The thought that no one else decided to jump on it is ridiculous to me. But why wouldn't I back something? Boxing is what I love. I quit my job to cover this sport. So if there is a company that is going to put on more boxing and make boxing more relevant, how could I not support it?
Well, Steve Kim, remember, works for HBO, and I could go down the line, and they all work for different people. They're just promoting who they work for.
Well, I mean, it's obvious. Like, again, I don't point the finger because everyone needs to make money, right? But I don't call fights for Ring TV. So I don't have to say that Ring is good or bad or that PBC is good or bad because I watch everything. I watch everything. True TV, NBC Sports Net, NBC. When Fox TV comes out with the Danny Garcia fight on regular Fox, I'm watching that. Fox Sports Deportes, I watch that. Solo Boxeo, I have the Latin package. I watch everything because you know what? I want to let my listeners know about everything. Now, do I watch the UK fights? I try to watch as much as I can, but if they allow me to pay the way that I'm paying all these other different packages for everything else, I got BN Sports, I got every single channel you could imagine because I'd rather watch HD. So it just is more difficult to watch UK fights. They don't offer it to us, but the ones that I can watch, I do watch. And the guys that I need to watch, I do watch. So I don't have any bias. It may sound that way because I believe in PBC. I mean, think about it. Look at what they've been able to do in less than a year. The inception started in March. What have they done wrong? Because people want. I mean, what company is going to do everything in the first year? That's not a way a business model is established. Let alone they're not doing anything different than Top Rank and Golden Boy have done. I mean, I can take you down Canelo's career, and it will be no different than what's this guy's name? The one that beat Abner Mares. What is that? Leo Santa Cruz. You know, they both were brought up slowly. One would argue that Canelo didn't have an amateur background. Maybe Leo Santa Cruz did. It doesn't matter, though. What you do is you give stars, fading veterans, former champions, and you introduce them to the public, and you build them up as a ticket seller. And when he gets good enough, you feed him someone that he can still beat, but it's going to challenge him like a James Kirkland coming off of 18 months layoff. And you fool the people. And you get the 900,000 pay-per-view buys to fight a fading former champion in Miguel Cotto. He's not as young as he used to be. When's the last time you seen Miguel Cotto knock out an A-lister or beat an A-lister? Daniel Gill is not an A-lister, and he was 3 pounds under his weight class that he'd never fought at. He's been fighting his entire career at 160.
I'm not sure Miguel Cotto ever beat a prime A-lister.
Well, there you go. So then how great is Canelo? But he was built up that way because this is the way that the sport is. It's the same thing for Mike Tyson. People can go through his career and talk about his career, and they can do it to anyone's career. Anyone's career could be ridiculed, but it's the way of the sport. Boxing is that way. Look at Earl Spence. Everybody's high on him. He's an Olympian. He's had a few step-ups. He beat Ronald Cruz here. He beat Phil Greco there, but there's asterisks there. You go and you comb his resume, you look under a microscope, and you say to yourself, well, Ronald Cruz, he lost to Antoine Smith. Well, Phil Greco, he had 2-year layoff, and he took the fight on 7 days' notice. And it wasn't even at 147, it was at 154. And he hadn't fought since he lost to Sean Porter. But if you're a casual fan and you're just skimming on the top, you don't know all of that. And you think that he's doing something, but that's just the way of boxing. You build guys up. You build them up. You got to build them up. There's no, you're not. Look at Gennady Golovkin, right? Everyone's in love with Gennady Golovkin, but the man's 33 years old. Why is no one asking themselves, where was he at 2 years ago? He's 33. Where's he been at? He was being built up. He was fighting Kasim Uma, a faded champion, somewhere in Kazakhstan a long time ago. Because you got to build guys up, or you're just going to kill your investment. That's what they are. To every promoter, to every manager, the fighter is an investment. They want their fighter to win, and they want to make get that win with minimal risk. So it's nothing. PBC is doing nothing different. Listen, let me tell you something, okay? Because PBC came out the same year that True TV came out. What's the difference? So it's okay for Felix Verdejo to fight some guy you never heard of named, I don't know, Jocelyn Santos or something like that in Puerto Rico on True TV, but it's a bad thing for you to see Danny Garcia versus Lamont Peterson on NBC. I mean, how is that bad? How is Al Heyman the bad guy? He gave you Danny versus Peterson, and Bob is giving you Jesse Hart versus, I mean, what is he giving you on True TV? Oscar Valdez versus who? What basically B-side or A-side? I mean, was there even an A-side versus a C fighter in there? When? It's been all developmental fights. Same thing like HBO Latino this year, all developmental fights. Why? Because HBO and True TV are the same company, and they're invested in Top Rank and Golden Boy. So they need to give Top Rank and Golden Boy a platform to build the stars of tomorrow, because the stars of tomorrow are going to be on HBO. And Al Heyman is doing the same exact thing. He's using CBS and NBC to build his stars, and then he sells them to Showtime. He used NBC and CBS to build up Danny Jacobs and Peter Quillen, and boom, the fight ended up on Showtime.
Yeah, the PBC is the minor leagues, and then they get called up.
Well, beyond the minor leagues, because where would you want to be? Do you want to be on True TV that's doing, I don't know, 100,000 views? Or do you want to be on NBC that Danny Garcia did 3.1 million? Or that, on ESPN where Keith Thurman did 1.2 million? Or on Spike TV where Chris Algieri and Amir Khan did over 1 million? I mean, it's apples and oranges. These guys are just, they're jealous, okay? The man has a good idea. He has a good idea. And as a boxing fan, not as a media member, as a boxing fan, I'm happy because I just told you why. I have to go and get on the internet to watch a UK fight. I have to buy the Latino package on my cable company to watch Solo Boxeo and to watch Azteca. And why? I'm an American citizen. I live in America. Why can't I turn on my TV like every other football fan or baseball fan and watch it on Sunday? Al Heyman brought boxing back to Sundays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays. Listen, I'm a guy, people don't understand that. They think I'm pro-PBC. I'm not. I am a guy that was raised in a minority household with a brother that is 3 years older than me, and he loved football and boxing. Football and baseball. So when football season is over, doesn't baseball season start? So me as the younger sibling, I didn't get to watch TV. So I took up boxing because I wanted to whoop my brother's ass. I can never watch the television. It's either watch football or watch baseball. And that didn't fly with me. So let me tell you, you won't believe this, but I've never in my life watched the Super Bowl or a Grand Slam or a World Series or an NBA final or an NBA whatever that is or a dunk contest. None of that. None of that. Have I played football in high school? Yes. Warner? Yes. Basketball? Yes. But I've never sat through a game in my entire life. I'm 36 years old. So when Al Heyman brings this lonely, only boxing fan, I don't watch cricket, I don't watch ping pong, I don't watch pool, I don't watch any other sport. No other sport but boxing. So if I can watch boxing on Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, well then call me whatever you want. Call me whatever you want. Because when I want steak, I go to the butcher. If I want rice, I get rice. I want boxing. I'm going to go with this boxing. HBO took off the whole month of September and October. How am I the biased one? The only thing I like is boxing. But I'm biased because I'm talking about PBC. Where were they at for August and September? But there's other fans that they watch other things. They can go to a football game in September or whatever other sport is happening, but I can't. So I'm happy that there is more boxing. 2015 was the best year in over, I don't know how many decades, bro. I mean, just with the inception of PBC and True TV, because I still give Bob Arum credit for making his own regular television. And then everything else that came with that, again, Solo Book Sale. Look at Golden Boy even did their own thing with the live stream on ringtv.com and also on Ustream. Everything that took place this last year made it a great year, but boxing had never been on this high, okay? If you Google search trends boxing, every week boxing is up 138%. Anywhere from 80 to 138%. And if you go back to last year, just, from the month of January to about the month of August, it was insane, man. I mean, the Pacquiao fight, the anticipation of that fight, and even though it let a few people down, there was still an aftermath that lingered for about 8 months. I mean, boxing is on an all-time high right now, believe me. I mean, look, like I said, how could you hate PBC? He's about to do Danny Garcia versus Robert Guerrero on an inaugural Fox. Like, how am I the bad guy for liking that? I mean, are you not a boxing fan?
Me, I'm one of the biggest boxing fans, of course.
Okay, so how could you think that you're wrong for liking that boxing is back competing with baseball and volleyball? I mean, gone are the days that ESPN made us wait because some high school kids were hitting a softball, for God's sakes. We had to wait. They would literally push back ESPN Friday Night Fights because some kids were having a softball game. How fair is that to us? I
remember that. I'd have a fight set up. I'd have the recording all set up with my VHS, and there'd be some fucking NASCAR shit on. And they'd always cut through the first fight.
Exactly. And do you think they'd even give us the... I'm sorry.
No, boxing's been the heel for a long time.
Very long. You think they give us the courtesy of at least starting our event from the beginning? No. NASCAR ate into your event, and we're going to pick up where NASCAR left off, and your event's already in the 4th round. I mean, come on. That doesn't happen anymore. Like, how could people not appreciate that? But they don't, because I don't even know why. I don't even know why. I'm not gonna spew any theories around. I have no clue how you cannot like what you've been asking for years. It's been in the forums. It's been the conversation amongst media in the press conferences or in the media rooms.
Boxing fans are a miserable lot. They clamor for Mayweather-Pacquiao for 5 years, and once they get it, they're pissed off. They want network boxing. They get it. They're pissed off. You can't satisfy them.
Exactly. Well, at least I'm dealing with a person with common sense, because believe me, I deal with people week after week that don't see that. They don't see that. I don't understand how I'm being called biased or this PBC voice. No. Because I talk about every fight. I mean, I'm the only podcast that discusses as many fights as I do, as thoroughly as we do. I'm talking about a Solo Buck Sale fight. Look, before people knew who Jason Sosa was, before he got the Nicholas Walters fight, I was telling people to watch him 3 fights ago because I've seen him knock out this kid from Texas named Jerry Belmontes. And I'm like, whoa, you guys got to take a look at this Jason Sosa kid. Sure enough, 2 more fights later, boom, lands a Nicholas Walters fight. Does he beat Nicholas Walters? No. But at least you got to learn about him, opposed to just the same thing that every network. Look at the networks. So Jim Lampley has the fight game. And listen, I love Jim, but please, you're going to tell me with all that HBO money that the only thing you could come up with is that the people, the award of the people is Gennady Golovkin? What award is that? And then his trainer gets Trainer of the Year? I mean, one fighter in his stable does something, and his trainer gets trainer. No, it's an agenda. They need the listeners. They have to continue to pound this Gennady Golovkin thing into the viewer's head. So it's like, oh, Gennady Golovkin didn't do shit. Okay, excuse me if we can't curse on this show, but he didn't do shit this year because when he tried to be a superstar, he only sold a miserable 97,000 pay-per-views. But that's okay because we said it is, and we're going to give him the award to be this year's people person. And guess what? His trainer, he has a bunch of other fighters that didn't do shit either, but because we want to sell you Golovkin, his trainer also gets Trainer of the Year. And that's it. That's been this episode.
Oh, Abel Sanchez got it, eh?
Yeah, that's been this episode of The Fight Game brought to you by HBO. Because they have an agenda. Everyone has an agenda. But people, they're blind, I guess. Everyone has an agenda, man. Everyone. My agenda is boxing, though. That's the difference. I don't care who's serving it up. If the fight's good, I'm talking about it. And if it's bad, that bad, then I'm ridiculing it. And if it's not good, you won't even hear me mention it. That's why I don't mention half of those UK fights that happen because I don't care about John Ryder or Nicholas Blackwell or even fucking Billy Joe Saunders right now.
There's a comment here. I'm from the UK. Sorry, lads. There's hardly any UK boxing coverage. Should be called the USA Boxing Voice.
But where am I at, Russell? Where am I? I mean, I don't understand. Do toe-to-toe boxing cover, let's say, would they be covering Jason Sosa, toe-to-toe boxing from the UK? Or would they cover Tion Kennedy? Or would they cover Brian Jennings before he got a Klitschko fight? Huh? No, they've never done that. But has the Boxing Voice had Martin Murray on from Australia? Yes. Have we had Billy Dibb on from Australia? Yes. Have we had fighters on from Canada? Yes. Have we had Daniel Gill on via live video stream? Yes. Have we interviewed Eddie Hearn from the UK at 4 in the afternoon? Did a show specifically for the UK? Yes. Have we had Peter Fury on? Yes. But we're biased, but we still have their fighters on. We still talk about Kell Brook. We do shows around their significant fighters. But their shows in the UK, they don't ever talk about our fighters unless he's significant. So what is the difference? Why do I have to do anything different? The UK, listen, they're pro. They work for Sky Sports, Spencer Fearon and these guys. If they're not talking about Earl Spence, then why do I need to talk about Anthony Joshua? I mean, what is the difference? I'm covering my region. They're covering their region. When they meet, we'll talk about them both. I'm not going to waste your time, okay? See, people wanted me to talk about Kell Brook years ago, and then I seen him go life and death with a veteran that he shouldn't have went life and death with. Kell Brook is riding on the skin of his teeth because he beat Sean Porter. When's the last time he did something? This guy, and this is what I say. I mean, people call me all these names. They say that I don't like the UK, but I mean, it's just the truth. I say that they're going to hold the belt hostage. What do? Has Kell Brook fought a credible opponent, or has he gone on his international Bum of the Month tour fighting Jojo Dan? And then he fights Frankie Gavin, and now he's in negotiations to fight Kevin Bizier. If an American did that, he'd get... Okay, perfect example. Deontay Wilder fights Eric Molina. He wins the title from Bermane Stiverne, fights Eric Molina, and fights Johan Gunlapis, and everybody says, they're criticizing him. Am I lying? Are they criticizing Wilder or not?
Well, they are. Of course they are.
All right, so then what is the difference? What is the difference for me to call Kell Brook on his shit? If the same UK fighter, same UK fans are saying, well, Deontay Wilder isn't fighting anybody. Anthony Joshua will knock him out right now because look who he's fighting. Who's the Johan Dunlopis? Eric Molina's washed up. So then what's the difference? I'm not saying anything different. Frankie Gavin is no one. Jojo Dan is no one. Jojo Dan is known for what? For beating up Bizier. The same guy that now is going to fight Kell Brook. He beat Bizier to get the fight with Kell Brook, loses to Kell Brook, so now the loser gets to fight Kell Brook too? It's ridiculous.
Pacquiao Bradley 3. Manny's on the decline. Bradley seems to be ascending. Who wins that fight?
You know, I'm one of those rare guys that believe that Bradley deserved that first win. I really saw that for him because I love boxers. I love Bradley's boxing ability, his agility. Then I seen him throw everything out in the second fight and think that somehow he could knock out Pacquiao. I think that there is a version of Timothy Bradley out there that can beat, especially this version of Manny Pacquiao coming back. I just don't know if he's capable of that. Could the new trainer in Teddy Atlas be the key? It's quite possible because in the Timothy Bradley Brandon Rios fight, that was the most focused Timothy Bradley I had seen in the corner in a very long time. Normally we'd seen, Joel Diaz telling Timothy Bradley to stop getting into wars and get back into being a boxer, and he wouldn't listen, and he would go back out there and get into another slugfest with Ruslan Provatnikov, But maybe Teddy Atlas is what Timothy Bradley needs. Timothy Bradley comes from that upbringing where his father was in the military and, he's like that loud, yelling drill sergeant. I mean, we've seen footage of him. We've been close with him in his gym. We've seen, him and the manner in which he works out. It's quite possible that Teddy Atlas is that perfect fit, that yell, get in your face type of guy. It's probably what Timothy Bradley needs so that he can function on a high level. That being said, I don't know. Manny Pacquiao, this being may or may not be his last fight. I just don't know. I mean, we've seen stranger things happen, like Saul Canelo Alvarez get a draw versus Mayweather on one of the scorecards in Vegas. So that being said, I would be rooting for Bradley, but I would expect Pacquiao to win.
Comment here from the audience. Ness is so adamant about more being better and thus causes this false narrative of subpar fights being good. I'm often annoyed by how much they focus on the numbers or who's getting paid what.
Well, I mean, it's an informative podcast. We can't just give you some. We got to give you all. Finances are a part of that when that information is made available. It definitely plays a major part. For instance, in our show this Sunday, Billy Joe Saunders was a topic of conversation. And even today, Billy Joe Saunders tweeted at Gennady Golovkin saying, offer me some proper money and I'll take the fight. This is why we talk about money. But ignorant fans would have you think otherwise. Why shouldn't I tell my listeners that the fight isn't happening because Billy Joe Saunders wants X amount of millions of dollars to take the fight? I would be doing you a disservice. That's why those people can comment all they want. No one in the boxing industry gets more downloads than the Boxing Voice. That's just the bottom line. There is no bigger podcast. No one listens more than us. No one listens to any other boxing show more than us. It just doesn't happen. Google is there. You can search it. Analytics are there. It's easy to find it out. People can say what they want, but the proof is in the pudding. You give the people what they want, the truth. The truth. I can easily tell you Billy Joe Saunders is a champion and Gennady Golovkin is a champion, and in a perfect world, that fight will happen. Or I can tell you the truth. It may or may not happen because people want a lot of money to get in the ring with Gennady Golovkin. And people that hate Golovkin want Gennady Golovkin to move up in weight so that he can leave that division alone, so that their favorite fighter can rule. That's the whole thing with Andre Ward. But now they can't even say that. That's the problem. Now Andre Ward moved up, so he's Kovalev's problem now, and there is no Gennady Golovkin problem. So now he gets to stay there, and people don't like it. They're saying, why does he want to unify? Well, why did Bernard Hopkins unify? I didn't hear anybody, breaking out the pitchfork for Hagler. Did he ever move up? But this is the world that we live in. People forget. It's okay. I don't fault them. I'm always forgive them.
Another funny comment here. Poor Robbie never seems to get a word in. I get a kick how he's always getting cut off.
Robbie, man. Robbie, I don't know, man. Robbie is he's my Robin, man. He's my Robin to Batman. I think that he gets a lot of time. I mean, listen, it's not much I can really do because I can't talk for him. He's not muted. I mean, he has to want to get in. He has to want to say more than what he's saying.
Will the heavyweight division ever unify with one single champion? And who's the likeliest to unify? We've got Ortiz, Fury, Klitschko, Wilder.
Well, I mean, it's going to take some time, but it's a big possibility that it happens with Fury and Wilder. I mean, I can see, if it could go both ways, but it'll still end in Fury Wilder. The way that it could work is two scenarios. Charles Martin could beat Glasgow, and then he face Wilder, and Wilder have 2 belts and face Fury for his 2 belts, and they come to some sort of split pay-per-view or something like that. Or maybe Al Heyman, okay, the same guy that they say that I love to, be part of or I want a job, or maybe he'll just offer them a lot of money the way that he did for James DeGale and Andre Dirrell, where he paid $3.1 million for that fight. So those 2 men seen as much money as they will ever see because of Al Heyman, but he's the bad guy. So then maybe he'll just pay for the fight, and Fury and Wilder will happen on NBC, or maybe it'll be some sort of split pay-per-view. But even if Glasgow wins, then Glasgow, I'm sure, would probably get the fight versus Fury on HBO because those 2 guys are HBO. The only reason Glasgow is even fighting on on PBC is because that fight went to purse bid for the vacant title. So if Glasgow wins, he'll just go back to HBO and let Tyson Fury fight for the title that he was stripped for again on HBO so that HBO could get another heavyweight fight in hopes that Fury then, after winning that title, agrees to fight Luis Ortiz, who is the other heavyweight that HBO is invested in. But there's not going to be enough money. See, Luis Ortiz, with the punch that he possesses and with the punch that he showed in the Brian Jennings fight, doesn't represent enough money for Fury to get in there when he can make a lot more money to fight Deontay Wilder, who does have the same punch that Luis Ortiz represents, but at least the risk is worth the reward, right? Who would you rather fight? Luis Ortiz on HBO that no one knows on a regular HBO fight, or would you rather unify with Deontay Wilder in a super fight?
Well, you got far greater value with Wilder.
All right, but I'm the PBC voice. You see what I'm saying? It's just common sense. It's just common sense. The comments come from people that don't know how to add.
Well, someone here says it used to be called the voice of the people. Now it's the voice of Nestor Gibbs.
Well, I don't see how that is when we take over 100 callers per episode. I mean, all the podcasts that are there, we do more than any other podcast. Let me let you know. So every other podcast does 1 episode. We do 2 episodes a week, mandatory, plus spontaneous episodes, and take calls on all of that. If that's not the voice of the people, I don't know what is. What other show is taking that many calls? If we ever sat down and calculated the amount of calls that we take, divided by the amount of minutes of their duration of the calls, and then divide that into the amount of time that the hosts get, I'm pretty sure the callers dominate the show because that's how it works. We might talk for the first hour. The next 2 are all callers. Don't let it be a big show like those Mayweather-Pacquiao shows, or an Adrian Broner versus whoever, or Canelo, any big-name show, forget about it. We barely talk because there's so many callers. I mean, sometimes my shows go 3 hours and 30 minutes, 3 hours and 40 minutes. That's insane. No other boxing podcast has ever done that, ever. I stick around for my people. Obviously, we're going to have one or two people that are going to comment and say things that obviously aren't true, because no one else is staying around damn near 4 hours to make sure that every call is taken. It just doesn't happen.
Like I said, you can't please everyone. I've even
but
seen
I
comments
try
that
to. See, that's the
But
thing.
I've even seen comments that your podcast is too long.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah. Over 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. You've got hundreds of callers. You're engaging the public. TheBoxingVoice.com. One last question for you. It's the big question of the year, and that is, will Mayweather stay retired? And if not, who is the new superstar at junior middleweight?
Well, obviously at junior middleweight and at any weight, it's Canelo Alvarez. And Mayweather, no, I highly doubt it. I've heard through the grapevine that he should be coming back to fight in the new stadium. Let's see if they can entice him. I don't see why he wouldn't come back. There's a gap, man, and he proved that with the Manny Pacquiao fight. There's a big gap between him and everyone else. And that was evident in the Berto fight, right? Because Berto was competitive versus Victor Ortiz, was he not?
Yeah.
All right. And wasn't he competitive in the Robert Guerrero fight? Even though he looked like a beat-up E.T., he still was competitive. And for a guy that, messed up his shoulder in the fight with Carras, he really tried to keep fighting. In all those fights, he was competitive. But with Mayweather, it was not worth watching, was it? It was like watching the American Dream Team versus one of these other countries back when Patrick Ewing was on the squad,
Yeah, it was
right?
the Harlem Globetrotters versus the high school team.
Well, there you go. That is the difference between Mayweather and these guys. He is just that good. So I think it's free money, in my opinion. I mean, if I were him, I would come back.
Maybe fight the winner of Alvarez-Golovkin?
Oh, absolutely not. Why? Because he doesn't need to come back and fight Alvarez or Golovkin or anybody like that, because his selling point is, I'm going to go for the Marciano record now. I'm going to break it. Marciano did 49-0. I'm gonna go out with 50. And after he gets to 50, if Pacquiao can win this fight, right? If Pacquiao can beat Bradley, why wouldn't there be a rematch?
Nestor, it's been a good time. Tell the audience exactly how to listen to your show on all its platforms.
Well, the best way is obviously to go to theboxingvoice.com, and there you will find every single manner in which you can listen to the show, which you can do so on iTunes as a podcast. You can listen on TuneIn, on the TuneIn app that's both available for Android and iPhone, and on a Stitcher app. But we have our very own app on the Android app market and the iTunes Apple Store, so you can also download our app and listen to the show there. And you can go to the YouTube.com, because we have our show there, but we have interviews with everyone from Manny Pacquiao to Floyd Mayweather to every single fighter, trainer in the business. So, that's the best bet.
Nestor Gibbs, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you. Thank you, Russell. Have a good day.